In this section of the course, you'll learn how to complete immigration forms step by step, avoiding the most common mistakes that lead to delays, rejections, or unnecessary expenses. The guidance you'll receive is based on real-life client experiences and expert recommendations, so you can approach the process with clarity and confidence. Let's get started. Before filling out any immigration form, it's key to know who's who. Here are the most common roles. A petitioner is usually a U.S. citizen, lawful permanent resident, or employer who submits a petition to USCIS on behalf of another person. Two good examples of petitioners can be a U.S. citizen who files Form I-130 for a relative or an employer who files Form I-140 for a foreign worker. Another role is the one of the beneficiary. It's the individual for whom the petition is filed. They benefit from the petition's approval. An example of a beneficiary can be a foreign spouse, child, or parent of a U.S. citizen. The applicant is the person who files a USCIS application to request an immigration benefit. It can be the same person as the beneficiary. An example of an applicant can be someone filing Form 485 for a green card or requesting a work permit, asylum, or a travel document. A sponsor is the person who agrees to financially support an immigrant, typically using Form 1-864, which is the affidavit of support. It's usually the petitioner. However, they must meet income guidelines. A joint sponsor is an additional sponsor who files Form 1-864 to help meet the financial requirements when the primary sponsor's income is insufficient. It is worth mentioning that the joint sponsor must be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident and meet income requirements independently. A derivative applicant or derivative beneficiary is the spouse or child of the principal applicant or beneficiary who may also qualify for immigration benefits through them. Examples of a derivative applicant or beneficiary are children of a primary asylum applicant or the spouse of a diversity visa winner. A principal applicant or beneficiary is the main person applying for or receiving the immigration benefit. For example, someone applying for adjustment of status or who is granted asylum or selected in the diversity visa lottery. An I-751 petitioner is a conditional permanent resident, typically through marriage, who files Form Y-751 to remove the conditions on their green card. It is important to mention that if married, this form is filed jointly with their U.S. citizen or LPR spouse. Finally, the petitioner's spouse, or also referred to as joint filer on Form 1-751. This petitioner is the U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident spouse who files Form 1-751 jointly with the immigrant spouse to confirm the good faith of the marriage. They must provide supporting evidence of the continuing marriage and sign the petition. Let's go over Step 1, where you have to gather all required information and documents. Start by completing a detailed intake questionnaire. This part is crucial. It helps you identify every document you'll need. Having all your supporting evidence ready will help you avoid delays or mistakes when it's time to fill out the form. Next, take the time to read the official instructions for the form you're completing. Yes, they can be long, but they walk you through everything, from who qualifies, how to answer each section correctly, what documents to attach to where, and how to file the form. Now begin collecting your client's documents, like birth certificates, passports, tax returns, employment letters, medical exams, and any other evidence that applies to the case, whether it's a marriage or asylum application or an adjustment of status. Tip: use our custom checklist to make sure you don't leave anything out. Let's see Step 2, where we'll review eligibility. It's important to confirm eligibility before filing. Make sure your client meets all eligibility requirements. Pay special attention to the general requirements section in the form instructions. You should ask yourself, does this form clearly prove the applicant's eligibility? Another important step is reviewing all documents and forms together to ensure the petition can stand on its own. Don't forget to use the most recent version of the form. Always download the form directly from the USCIS website to avoid using an outdated version. One thing to remember, for asylum cases, ensure the applicant has no other choice but to flee their country and request humanitarian relief. Step 3 is when we start completing the form carefully. First, always fill out the forms electronically. Try not to complete them by hand. Use a computer whenever possible. If handwriting is absolutely necessary, make sure to use black ink only. Next, don't leave any blank spaces. If a question doesn't apply, write NA or none, depending on what fits best. Also, never print your forms double-sided. USCIS only accepts single-sided pages, so make sure every sheet is printed on one side only. If you make a mistake, don't try to cross anything out or correct it by hand. Just reprint that page and fill it out again. Always double-check that all the information is clear and accurate, especially names, dates of birth, and mailing addresses. Remember, USCIS will use the address you list to contact your client. Check that your form is complete and that no pages are missing before you submit it. It's a simple step, but really important. Next, don't forget to sign and date the form. Always use black ink and make sure you sign in the space provided. If the form isn't signed, USCIS will automatically reject it, so don't skip this. Also, make sure your packet looks professional. USCIS officers really do notice how a case is presented. So avoid crossouts, smudges, or anything that might look messy or hard to read. This is your client's case, so make sure it's clean, organized, and looks like it was prepared with care. A neat and polished packet can make a strong impression. Let's go over step 4 on how to draft a strong cover letter. Always include the full names of both the petitioner and the beneficiary. This makes it easy for USCIS to identify whose case they're reviewing. Next, list all the supporting documents you're including in the packet. A clear, organized list helps the officer quickly see what's been submitted and ensures nothing gets overlooked. You'll also want to end your packet with a brief summary that highlights the strengths of the case. At the same time, be proactive about addressing any potential weaknesses. For instance, if a couple got married after just 3 months of dating, you can strengthen the case by including evidence that shows they met many years ago and have a strong connection. If there's a significant age gap, say 15 years or more, add letters from friends or family members who can speak to the authenticity of the relationship. Anticipating these concerns and including the right evidence can make a big difference. One important tip: use our cover letter samples to guide you on how to write one. Let's see now step 5, which is the final check and submission. Start by double-checking all the documents to make sure everything is complete and accurate. Have someone else review the packet as well. It's always a good idea to get a second set of eyes. Then confirm with the client that all the information is correct before sending it out. Next, make sure all copies of supporting documents are clear and easy to read. Blurry or hard-to-read pages can cause delays. And remember, don't send original documents unless USCIS specifically asks for them. Finally, make sure you include the correct filing fee. You can use the USCIS fee calculator online to double-check the amount before submitting. If you're filing multiple forms, make separate payments for each one. Try to avoid using credit cards, especially with Form G 1450. That form tends to fail, and if the payment doesn't go through, your entire package might get rejected. Using money orders is usually the safest route. You can also include Form G 1145. This one's optional, but it's really helpful. It lets the applicant receive text and email updates once USCIS processes the package. Remember that all supporting documents must be in English or have been translated. Always make a full copy of the entire submission and keep it for your records. You never know when you'll need to refer back to it. Be sure to send your package to the correct USCIS address. This could be a lockbox or service center, depending on the type of form and where the petitioner lives. If you're filing online, make sure to carefully follow the USCIS instructions for online submissions. And when mailing a physical packet, always use a shipping service with tracking and keep a copy of the shipping label for your records. What to expect after submission. Once your package is received, you'll get a receipt notice, Form 1797C. This confirms USCIS got your petition. At this point, it's a good idea to create a USCIS account and link your receipt number. That way you can track updates online. Then, about 3 to 4 weeks before your biometrics, you should get an appointment notice with the date and time for fingerprinting. The biometrics appointment is quick, usually just 15 minutes. It includes fingerprinting and your photo for identification. If everything is in order, you'll receive your approval notice in the mail. One important tip: if you notice a delay in receiving the USCIS receipt notices by mail, check whether the filing fee has been collected. Let's see a few key tips and common mistakes to avoid. Always check the latest government mailing addresses. They change frequently. If possible, submit more evidence than strictly required for bona fide marriages. Get an IRS transcript to submit with the affidavit of support. Always make copies of everything you submit. By following this structured approach and learning from others' mistakes, you can dramatically improve your chances of having your petition accepted on the first try. Thanks for watching. You can proceed with the next part of the course.